It was supposed to be just another glittering Hollywood night, champagne glasses, camera flashes, elegant laughter echoing through the marble hall of the Belgravia Hotel. But no one there would ever forget how quickly glamour turned to chaos. When Jamie Dornan arrived that evening with his wife, Amelia Warner, everything looked perfect. He smiled for photos, his hand resting lightly on hers, the practiced grace of a man who had walked red carpets 100 times before. Amelia, radiant in emerald silk, stayed close but quiet, polite nods, poised smiles, eyes that watched everything but revealed nothing. Then Dakota Johnson entered. The photographer's shouts grew louder. "Dakota, over here!" The flashes went wild as she posed alone, her silver gown shimmering under the lights. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. Across the room, Jamie saw her, the woman whose name had been entangled with his for nearly a decade. He hadn't seen her in months, maybe years, but the memory of their on-screen chemistry, and the endless rumors that followed, hung in the air like static electricity. He smiled, out of habit, then looked away. But Amelia had already noticed. Throughout the night, the three of them orbited the same golden circle of actors and producers, their paths crossing, retreating, crossing again. People whispered, glancing toward their table. Even the staff could feel the tension beneath the polished laughter. Later, when the main event ended, a smaller after-party began in the hotel's courtyard. The music softened, the crowd thinned, and the champagne flowed more freely. Jamie, relieved to escape the spotlight, stepped outside for air, and found Dakota standing by the fountain, laughing with a director they both knew. Their eyes met. It should have ended there, a polite nod, a brief hello. But Dakota smiled, stepping closer. "It's been too long," she said softly. "Yeah," he replied, half smiling. "Feels like another lifetime." For a few minutes, they talked quietly, surrounded by murmurs and candlelight. Old memories slipped into the conversation. Filming in Vancouver, long nights on set, inside jokes that only they understood. It wasn't flirting, it was nostalgia. But in that fragile moment, nostalgia looked a lot like intimacy. From across the courtyard, Amelia watched. She'd seen the way he leaned closer when Dakota spoke, the way Dakota's hand brushed his sleeve when she laughed. It was nothing. It was everything. For years, Amelia had endured the rumors, the magazine covers, the secret love, fan theories, the endless comparisons that reduced her marriage to a subplot. She had kept her composure, always choosing silence over spectacle. But tonight, something inside her cracked. A murmur rippled through the guests as Amelia crossed the courtyard, heels sharp against the stone. Jamie didn't see her coming until it was too late. "Amelia," he started, but she was already there. Dakota turned, startled. "Amelia, hi." The sound of the slap was sharp and shocking, echoing through the courtyard like the snap of thunder after lightning. Gasps erupted. Someone dropped a glass. Cameras turned instantly. Dakota froze, eyes wide, her cheek flushed where Amelia's hand had landed. Jamie's face went pale. "Amelia, what are you doing?" Amelia's chest rose and fell rapidly. Her voice trembled but didn't break. "I'm doing what I should have done a long time ago," she said. The crowd was stunned. Nobody moved, not even security. The music had stopped. Only the clicking of phones filled the air. Dakota took a slow breath, her eyes glistening. She didn't raise her voice. "You think I'm your enemy," she said quietly, "but I'm not." Jamie stepped between them, his voice low but desperate. "Enough, please. This isn't what it looks like." But it was too late. Dozens of phones had already captured the moment. Amelia looked around at the faces watching her, pitying, judging, and the strength drained from her expression. She turned away, whispering, "I can't do this anymore." Within minutes, she was gone. Dakota stood there, trembling, reporters swarming as hotel staff tried to push them back. Jamie followed Amelia, shouting her name, but she disappeared into the night. By the time he returned, the chaos had begun. Headlines were already hitting the internet. Amelia Warner slaps Dakota Johnson at charity gala. Hollywood shocked. The triangle finally boils over. Inside the emptying courtyard, Dakota pressed a hand to her face, not from pain, but disbelief. She whispered to no one in particular, "It wasn't supposed to be like this." And somewhere beyond the flashing lights and sirens of gossip, Amelia Warner sat alone in her car, shaking, realizing she hadn't just struck Dakota. She had struck at every rumor, every doubt, every year of quiet humiliation she had buried beneath a smile. The silence afterward felt heavier than the slap itself. The morning after was chaos. By sunrise, every major news outlet in the world had picked up the story. Amelia Warner slaps Dakota Johnson at charity event. The love triangle erupts. Jamie Dornan breaks silence after public confrontation. #Amelia vs Dakota trended worldwide, with millions of tweets dissecting the footage from every possible angle. Clips of the slap looped endlessly on social media, slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed by self-proclaimed body language experts. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone thought they knew the truth. But no one really did. Inside their Los Angeles home, Amelia Warner sat curled on the couch, her phone face down on the coffee table. She hadn't slept. The adrenaline that had driven her the night before was gone, replaced by nausea and shame. Her publicist had called 3 times already. Her friends had texted, her sister had cried, and Jamie hadn't come home. She buried her face in her hands. The echo of that moment, the look on Dakota's face, the sound of gasps, the flashbulbs, wouldn't stop replaying. She didn't even know what she'd been thinking. All she remembered was the look in Jamie's eyes when he saw Dakota. That flicker of something old, familiar, and forbidden. She'd spent years pretending not to notice. Pretending to be above it. But last night, every suppressed fear and insecurity had spilled over in front of the entire world. Across town, Dakota Johnson sat by her hotel window, staring at the flood of notifications lighting up her phone. Her team begged her to issue a statement, to control the narrative, but she refused. She hadn't expected Amelia's reaction, not after all these years. She knew the rumors, of course. She knew how the world had painted her as the other woman for nearly a decade. But she had always stayed silent, believing that silence was the higher road. Now, that silence felt like guilt. She touched the side of her face. It didn't hurt anymore, but the sting went deeper than skin. She remembered Amelia's trembling voice, the pain behind it. Dakota had seen it in her eyes. This wasn't about hate. It was about heartbreak. A soft knock pulled her from her thoughts. Her assistant poked her head in. "Jamie's here." Dakota froze. She stood, smoothing her hair, heart pounding. When the door opened, Jamie stepped inside, exhausted, unshaven, still wearing last night's wrinkled suit. His eyes met hers, full of apology and chaos. "I'm so sorry," he said instantly. "For everything." Dakota shook her head. "You don't need to apologize. It wasn't you. It was because of me," he said firmly. "All of this was." He sank into a chair, rubbing his face with both hands. "I tried to call Amelia. She won't pick up." Dakota sat across from him, quiet. "She's hurting." "I know," he whispered. "But so are you." There was a pause, heavy, fragile. The kind that holds years of unsaid things. "Last night," Jamie continued, "when I saw you again, I forgot where I was. I forgot everything except—" He stopped himself, shaking his head. "It doesn't matter." "It does," Dakota said softly. "Because we can't keep pretending we're not part of this mess. We made it, all 3 of us." Jamie looked up, eyes filled with regret. "I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt anyone." "I know," she said. "But wanting isn't the same as doing." He sighed, leaning back. "You should hate me." "I don't," she whispered. "I just wish we'd known when to stop being each other's weakness." Jamie closed his eyes. The truth of her words hit like a punch. After a long silence, he stood. "The world's going to twist this, no matter what we say. But I need to make it right, for Amelia. Dakota nodded, blinking back tears. You should go to her. He hesitated at the door, glancing back once. You didn't deserve that, Dakota. Any of it. I know, she said softly. But neither did she. When he left, Dakota sat down again, staring out the window. The city looked calm, oblivious, sunlight pouring over streets that didn't care about broken hearts or viral headlines. She whispered to herself, we were all just trying to love the wrong way. By evening, a new statement hit the press. It came from Amelia Warner's team, short, raw, and surprisingly honest. Last night's incident was the result of years of unresolved emotion. I take full responsibility for my actions and apologize to Dakota Johnson publicly and privately. I am deeply ashamed. Sometimes silence can destroy more than words. The internet, for once, quieted. People didn't know what to say. The woman the world had painted as cold and composed had finally shown something human. And somewhere behind the headlines and apologies, Jamie sat alone, his phone lighting up with messages from both women, neither angry, both exhausted. He whispered into the dark, I caused the storm. They took the rain. Because in Hollywood, love stories don't always end in romance. Sometimes they end in headlines, forgiveness, and 3 people learning that even in a world of make-believe, feelings are painfully, dangerously real.